had a long history of building Reanimator decks. You can ask literally anybody I've played with. It all started back with Teneb the Harvester, but after the blow up in Commander's popularity, Teneb just really doesn't cut it anymore. I moved on to Lim Dol, then from Lim Dol to Shieldred, then from Shieldred to Mirkul, then from Mirkul to Scarab God, which is the closest I've come to getting the perfect Reanimator deck for me. But then I bought a booster pack of the Lord of the Rings set and pulled this guy, Sauron the Dark Lord. Let's read what he does. 3, a blue, a black, and a red for a 7/6 with ward. Sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. That's a hefty ward. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass orcs 1. To amass orcs, you create a 0/0 orc army, then put a 1/1 counter on it. If you already control an orc army, you put another 1/1 counter on it. Simple as that. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. In order to have the ring tempt you, you gain an emblem called the ring. Each time the ring tempts you, you choose a creature to become the ring bearer. Only one creature may be the ring bearer, and then the ring gains its next ability on the list of 4 abilities it has. The first being your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with higher power. The next, whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card and discard a card. Next, we've got whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacks it at the end of combat. That's a pretty good way to get around indestructible. And lastly, whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So yeah, this ring can seriously upgrade one of your creatures. And lastly, yeah, we're not done. Sauron is absolutely stacked. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand and draw 4 cards. Keep in mind, even if you have a maxed out ring, the ring can still tempt you, so you can just keep doing this over and over again as long as you're hitting with an orc. So let's lay out the game plan here. My Sauron deck is an aristocrat Reanimator deck. The fact we get an orc army token every spell our opponents cast is absolutely ludicrous, so we're going to need to milk that cow dry. Sack outlets are going to be the best friend here. We've got the classics like Ashnod's Altar and Altar of Dementia, which pair great with aristocrat style cards like Blood Artist and Butcher of Malkir, turning every spell our opponents play into another trigger. And since we have access to red, we get to run some of my favorite sack outlets like Goblin Bombardment and Scorched Rosalka, turning our already aristocratic ping style gameplay into even more of that. A full rotation in a game of Commander can easily lead to 6+ spells being cast by your opponents. Add that with all the sack outlets we're running, and that's a ton of triggers on board. But that's only half our deck. The other half of this deck is a Reanimator deck, using graveyard fillers like Buried Alive and Orik Loremaster, plus swinging in with our orcs every now and then to discard our hand and draw forward thanks to Sauron, to maintain a very stacked graveyard. Then use the classics like Reanimate, Victimize, Felled into the Third Path because we're in red, baby, to reanimate cards like Kakusho the Evening Star or Dothy Voidwalker and keep recycling through their value with sack outlets and more reanimation, all the while triggering our aristocrat pieces. Reanimator is great as well because Sauron costs so much. If someone does manage to destroy him, we can just let him go to the graveyard half the time and just reanimate him back because we run like 11 Reanimator spells in this deck, so he should be good. And then late game, we can pull out cards like Portal to Phyrexia or Shieldred the Whispering One to bring home games fairly easily. A few cards I wanted to talk about that I wasn't sure where they would fit in this video is Crawl Space. I put this in all my decks now, and I can't see a deck it doesn't go in. Fight me. Defense Grid kinda has the same place in my heart. Fight me again. Especially if you don't have that many interactions in your deck, which in this deck, we're just trying to reanimate during our turn and get big stuff on board. I don't have that much interaction. Lastly, we've got All Will Be One, which shoots people for damage whenever we put counters on stuff. And since every spell our opponents cast makes us amass an army, that ends games fairly quick. Early game in this deck is all about mana ramp, death triggers, and stopping threats. We're trying to get Sauron out as fast as possible without any opponents setting up a powerful board, while setting up a death trigger and sack outlet for our Dark Lord's arrival. We can get Sauron out turn 4 or 5 easily. Also, we're a Reanimator deck, so you could easily draw into a Buried Alive, reanimate, nutty opener, and just go crazy early game. And with that, we're in the mid game. Mid game in this deck is all about building up fat graveyards and sacking orcs to ping opponents whenever they play spells. With all of our death triggers going off with every spell our opponents play, this can easily bring home a game. We also run cards like Rogue's Passage to make sure that if we do amass a fairly large army, we can get it through as an alternate win con, which also triggers Sauron's discard our hand and draw 4, which fills up our graveyard fast for our Reanimator theme. I actually had a play last night where I smacked with one of my orcs because of Rogue's Passage, discarded a Shieldred, Doomed Whisperer, and a Halo Forager, drew 4, and drew into a Reanimate, Animate Dead, Mausoleum Secrets, and a land. Yes, I can already feel the ring's power tempting me. Late game is simple. It's just about out battle cruisering any opponent that happens to be going late as well. If they got big spells, we got bigger ones. If they got removal, we can bring our stuff back. If they smack us, we can heal back from it. All the while getting wild value from our Sauron. One ring to schmack 'em all. Let me know if you like this deck and post some cards or interactions I missed, and go play some Magic, guys.